Hey, I'll see you on tour in Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids. In Chicago, it's stand-up and a live panel show. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and make sure you go to jimmydore.com. Now, Whitney, I saw you made this tweet. You said, with Trump's vice president pick being a protege of Peter Thiel, you can kiss critical reporting from alternative media on his campaign goodbye, since Thiel funds most of the big names. Not that there was really any to begin with. So, you mean any reporting on Peter Thiel? So,
well, yeah, not a lot of reporting on Peter Thiel.
No, I don't want to flatter myself, but would you include me in that as one of the big names that Thiel funds?
Well, I don't know. Do you take money from Peter Thiel? I mean, I appreciate you having me on to talk about him and why I think he's horrible for human freedom in the United States of America.
I mean, he gave me the down payment for my house. Is that bad? No.
Oh.
No, we're on, just like, Russell Brand and Glenn Greenwald, we're on Rumble. And in order for us to come to put our videos up on Rumble, which I wouldn't have, they offered us a financial incentive to do so. So we do that. So now they incentivize us to use Rumble. I like using Rumble because, again, just like Twitter, for whatever reason, they don't police my speech and they don't demonetize my videos, and they let me say whatever I want, unlike Google, which is directly a CIA invention. So,
they're all CIA inventions.
So for whatever reason, this CIA invention allows me the freedom to say what I want.
Sure, but think about the utility of that for someone like Peter Thiel, who's developed this domestic terror spying apparatus. The problem lies in the fact that, perhaps people aren't censoring there, but they're giving them data that they can use to profile you on behalf of their intelligence, the intelligence agencies that pay them.
Yeah.
So I think that's the issue. So, I think it would clear up a lot, perhaps, if Rumble leadership talked about how they use your user data and how they prevent companies and intelligence contractors like Palantir from sucking it all up and using it to profile Americans. Right?
I mean, no matter what you do, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube for sure. No matter what you do, there's someone sucking up your data.
Yes.
Right? So there's no getting out of it.
The getting out of it is finding other platforms or finding ways to try and be as anonymous online. But unfortunately, we're being led to a world in PayPal and some other Thiel-connected companies, and really most of big tech and the biggest banks in the country are part of this effort at the World Economic Forum called the Partnership Against Cybercrime, along with the FBI and the Secret Service and Israeli intelligence. And their goal is to have you have a digital ID in order to access the internet. To stop cybercrime and to stop hacking. And they define cybercrime as speech they don't like also.
That's right. So if you considered a cyber terrorist, if they say you're spreading misinformation, you're a terrorist. Yes. They can put you in jail with not a charge because of Barack Obama repealing habeas corpus. And all they have to do is say you're a cyber terrorist. And that means you said something online they didn't like. Now, Whitney, for an hour, we've been sitting here being critical of Peter Thiel and Palantir and all things J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. Would you still consider me part of this group of people who isn't going to be critical reporting?
Well, I don't think I ever said I considered you to be part of that, but there certainly are significant figures in alternative media, and I don't really want to name any names because I've been on some of their shows as well.
So you're compromised.
Well, I didn't mean it like that, but I just don't want to start, a fight unnecessarily with people that have been nice to me, I guess. But I think that, when you take money from someone, it can impact what you report on. And I think some people challenge that, what you have done in this case, right? And other people do not. But I think someone like Peter Thiel is hugely influential, and I think he's not talked about enough. I mean, the billionaires like him have so much money to spend on PR and to spend on buying up influencers to try and make them look like something they're not. I mean, Peter Thiel has convinced people he's a libertarian when he's given the CIA, the national security state, the most powerful weapon in its arsenal, Palantir, not to mention some of the other companies that he's helped develop, including one that he funded alongside Jeffrey Epstein, that is taking over 911 call centers all over the country, called Carbine 911. There's all this stuff happening. People need to know what Peter Thiel is actually doing, and be aware of what they're using the internet for when you interact with it, and try and take steps to mitigate it. But ultimately, I think they're trying to get us, Silicon Valley runs both political parties.
That's right.
They're essentially our de facto government because they've merged with the national security state. All of the big tech companies are military and intelligence contractors. It's not just Palantir, but they're a big one, and they put you on the naughty list, right? But essentially they all do it, and this is really the people that run our government, and they're leading us into a technocratic, totalitarian hellhole. And the only way to get out of it at some point is to not be dependent on their services, and they've made us dependent on their services. So I think it's high time why we can still talk freely, at least on some platforms, to use that to develop solutions and develop alternatives that don't involve these people, don't involve these billionaires. And it's another interesting thing too, that all of the big Silicon Valley oligarchs, every single one of them had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Why is that? Why did Larry Page disappear when he was subpoenaed as part of the JP Morgan Epstein USVI case? Why was Sergey Brin and Elon Musk subpoenaed? Why did Jeff Bezos and Ghislaine Maxwell have such a close relationship? Why did Reid Hoffman hang out with Jeffrey Epstein all the time? Peter Thiel had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein and co-funded companies with him. So what's going on here? So do we want these people deciding our future and deciding who gets on the naughty list? I mean, it's just insane.
So when you say we have to become not dependent on their platforms, so if after 9/11, the government wanted all the telecommunications companies to give their data to the government, and there was one guy, I can't remember his name, and I can't remember the name of the company, maybe you remember, who wouldn't do it. He was the CEO of a telecom company, and he wouldn't give the data. And what did they do to him? They put him in jail. They made him a criminal, just like they did doing to Trump, just like they're doing to Stop Cop City protesters, like they did to Lula, like they're doing to Imran Khan. If you won't go along with the game, there'll never be a platform that isn't, because if there is, they'll just criminalize that billionaire who's funding it, or whoever it is, and put them in jail, right?
Yeah, but I mean, is this the kind of society where we would just want to sit back and vote for Trump and hope that that's going to fix everything? No. I mean, that's not going to solve this problem either. You know what I'm saying? And,
no, I agree.
Neither is obviously voting for the Democrat candidate. Or really none of these candidates are going to get in the White House and magically fix everything. It's up to Americans to take individual responsibility for our lives and try and make our communities and ourselves and our families as resilient as possible for all this crazy stuff that's starting to happen, whether it's problems with the economy, another war, supply chain issues, cyber attacks, whatever. I mean, obviously things are going to get really crazy, and we need to be able to rely on each other in our communities and not rely on the government or big tech to come in and solve all our problems. Big tech wants to lead us to a world where everything we do is dependent on our digital ID and our online activity and how we've been profiled. They want us to go live in the metaverse and all of this stuff. If you don't want that world, it's time to think about what you're going to do about it.
You don't like 15
and start thinking about alternatives.
You don't like the idea of a 15-minute city and CBDCs?
No, I don't. But again, let's keep in mind, too, as far as it relates to CBDCs, that it's very possible to have programmable, surveillable money, not just issued by the central bank, but also the big Wall Street banks.
That's
which
right.
is exactly what people like Jamie Dimon have talked about doing.
That's right.
With their JPM coin
and
things like that. So even though Trump has disavowed CBDCs, he certainly hasn't disavowed programmable, surveillable money. And in the United States, it was always most likely to come not from the Fed, but from the Wall Street banks, who in the United States own the Federal Reserve System. The most powerful bank in the Federal Reserve System is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Its largest shareholder is JP Morgan.
That's right. Hey, I'll see you on tour in Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids. In Chicago, it's stand-up and a live panel show. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and make sure you go to jimmydore.com.